Sunday Baroque Conversations is made possible by the Friends of Sunday Baroque and is produced at WSHU Public Radio in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm Suzanne. Thank you for listening. Don't miss an episode of Sunday Baroque Conversations. Subscribe on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. And please leave us a review. If you want to find out where you can listen to our weekly show, visit our website, sundaybaroque.org, for a station list and our 24/7 stream. Again, that's sundaybaroque.org. Black Violin is an American musical duo, two classically trained string players who prefer to merge musical genres, blending classical, hip-hop, jazz, funk, and more. The two Fort Lauderdale natives, who go by Wil B and Kev Marcus, play viola and violin respectively, and started out by performing hip-hop covers on their instruments in local clubs. They went on to win Showtime at the Apollo and to perform with Alicia Keys, among other collaborations. Wil B joins me on Zoom to talk about his passion for music and the success of Black Violin. Hi, it's so great to meet you.
Hello, how you doing? Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me.
Great. So I'd like to start by exploring how you personally got your start in music as a child. I understand that saxophone was your first choice, but you ended up playing viola instead. It almost sounds like the start of a viola joke. So how did that all happen?
Well, it happened when I was that kid at lunchtime beating on the table with all the other kids with crap. That was me. And there was a security guard who get really upset at me. He used to say, "Stop doing that." And told me a quick story. He's like, "Man, why don't you sign up for band or something? I used to play saxophone when I was your age, and I used to play gigs on the weekends and make money." So that definitely triggered a thing in my mind. I'm like, "Oh, I need money." So yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So I immediately went to the band teacher. I found out with the band teacher, "Hey, I want to play sax." And he's like, "Just come to the other," he said, "just there's a summer program that's happening this summer. Just sign up, okay?" The string teacher was in the same room. I guess him and the string teacher, I guess, were having a conversation or whatever. And they looked at each other and they said, "All right, let's play golf. Whoever wins this golf game gets this kid in their class." So they played golf, and obviously the band teacher was a terrible golfer. And strength teacher won, and I went to the class, and I just saw a bunch of wood instruments and violins, violas and cellos, and bass. And I was like, "What is this?" And the teacher's like, "Hey, you're just stuck with this class for 3 weeks." So I was stuck with the class. I embraced it a little bit. At first, I was still kind of like, "Man, I want to play the sax," but I embraced it. I was stuck with the class. And that's it. That's just how it happened. And the viola, I picked up the viola because everybody was ignoring the viola.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, I never picked up the violin. I always picked up the viola because in my mind, I was like, "I'm not going to play this. Why is everybody ignoring this? Let me pick this up."
Oh.
That's literally why I picked up the viola. Like, everyone's playing the violin because they get the solos or whatever. So for me, and I picked up the viola, and we've been together ever since. 28 years or so.
Wow. That's a great story. And it's actually very sweet. It says something about your nature that you sort of was the underdog, right? That's great. So who, other than the string teacher who was a better golfer, who were some of your early, teachers and mentors, the people that really opened up the world of music to you, that really sort of helped you figure out that this is really, your thing, your calling?
Oh, man, I would say my teacher for sure, Mr. Miles. He definitely just was always there. You know what I mean? Just really providing me with things that I needed. I remember, it was $20 to take the viola home to practice, and I couldn't afford that. I didn't have $20, and he just gave it to me and said, "Listen, just bring it back in 2 weeks." So he was just a teacher that was always there, and he told me that, "Listen, you can go to college for free with this instrument. You just stick to it, And that was big. And in terms of just like passion for music, I don't think I developed that until much later. I think for me, I developed a passion for it when I got to high school. I think sophomore year when I started. Because what would happen for me was, I would go into certain spaces. For instance, this is a terrible thing to do, but I would go in the bathroom and practice. And the reason why I would go there is because the reverb, it was very reverby, which is not a good place to practice, but it just sounded good. And when I went there, I didn't practice music that was on the sheet music. I would just play whatever I wanted to play. And I started doing that. And when I started doing that is when I started developing passion, not only for music, but for the instrument itself. When I feel like, oh man, I could play whatever I want to play. I would hear melodies on TV, on the radio, and I would just kind of mimic that melody and just play whatever I wanted to play after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't know what I was doing. All I knew is it felt good doing it. The lights are off. It's weird. The lights are off. I'm in the bathroom, just reverb and it felt good. I think I kind of developed a love for it, and I think it kept me focused, kept me distracted from whatever was going on, kept me focused, felt like I had something.
So were you? It sounds like you were playing like music that you heard, music that you knew, but were you also improvising? Were you sort of doing like a mashup of stuff of your own?
Yeah, mostly improvising. Mostly just playing, just notes, just creating. It was very reverby in there, so I'm just playing notes, just freestyle, just playing whatever, and it felt good to just play something. And I wasn't necessarily playing concertos, which I would do that. I would practice elsewhere. I would practice in the living room sometimes. I would mostly practice at school. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But whenever there's another room. There's in our orchestra room. There's a gap between the room and the door, the entrance, and there's another door. So it's like 2 inches. It's weird. It's just this room that's there. And I would go in there and practice because it sounded echoey and it sounded good when I was playing it. I was just going there, but people thought it was weird, but it kept me going, it kept me playing.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I felt like I can make this thing do whatever I wanted to do, and I think that's one of the reasons why. And hip hop had a lot to do with it too, because I was immersed in hip hop. I was very much a big hip hop kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the culture of hip hop is about expressing yourself and just doing whatever you feel. And I think that was a lot of that energy was inside of me. And so it wasn't weird for me to just pick up my viola and start playing whatever I wanted to play, because that's what hip hop is.
Yeah.
So and because of that, I think I've been playing for as long as I have, because it's one of the main reasons why I just kept playing.
Yeah. So ultimately, you attended Florida State University, right?
Yeah, went to Florida State.
And were you a music major? Were you an ed major? What did you plan to do with your degree from Florida State?
It was performance major.
Yeah.
That's it. And the funny thing is, that's what I knew. You know what I mean? I've been playing the viola for like, let's see, at that point, like 6-7 years, right? Something like that. And so I knew, and I got the scholarship, So I did that, and I was transferred to FIU, and I went down to Miami. And that's when Kevin and I moved in together.
Oh, okay.
And again, I was still kind of going in that whole classical direction, but I was always doing what I did to connect myself with this instrument, which is to play whatever I wanted to play.
Right.
And it wasn't until Kevin and I moved in together we started producing, like really creating music, like with computer, doing that kind of stuff. Right. And that's when I started realizing, okay, this is what I want to do. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to sit in an orchestra and wear a tux. I wasn't sure about that yet, And when I started creating music and producing and writing songs, and I started kind of like, because even in college, I used to write a lot of poetry. In high school, I used to write a lot of poems and stuff. And as I started converting some of those poems into songs, and I started just singing songs, and creating songs and writing songs. And then that's when I realized, man, this is what I want to do.
You have said, you being you and your partner, have said that your mantra is to engage the audience to look at things from a different perspective. And you also say, we want you to be confused, which I love. And I'd love for you to elaborate on that. What does that mean to you?
We like the fact that people are confused. We like the fact that when they come to the show, it's just like, what am I looking at? What's happening right now? It's these two black guys playing this instrument, and wait a minute, what's the music that's coming out of these instruments? No one's never approached these instruments that way.
Right.
Why is it so loud? We kind of want that the deconstruction of what you thought this instrument is supposed to sound like, and also what this person is supposed to speak that's in front of you playing the
Right.
instrument. So I think in order for you to unravel your perspective and your preconceived notion about anything, you gotta be shaken a little bit. So I think that's where that comes from with us wanting and want the crowd to be in this kind of like, what am I seeing?
Mm-hmm.
What happens is at the end of the show, they're all standing out having a good time. They're moving. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that's what it's supposed to do. Because we understand what it is. If you think of classical music as the culture of classical music, it's just the idea of this thing that's purist and it belongs in this space and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. We're here to destroy all of that. We're here to dismantle all that. You know what I mean? And for me, and particularly, I believe that anyone is capable of anything, in whatever space that you decide to be in, you belong. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, I belong in any space. It doesn't matter what it is. I belong. If I decide I want to be in a space, this is the space that I'm in. And I feel like classical music hasn't been that embracing. And one of the main things that we do and how we do it is we're disruptive. And we
Mm-hmm.
like to be disruptive.
Right.
And I think that's when change happens. I think change happens when you are disruptive, when you're fearless about it, unapologetic. And
Yeah.
that's what our music has done. That's who we are. That's who I am. Me personally, that's just who I am. I'm very comfortable who I am, and I approach my artistry, and it's fun for me. It's something I have a lot of joy in. And the top of that off, what I do, what comes natural to me, and what's really not difficult for me to do, somehow it's inspiring. It's uplifting. You know what I mean? It's just an extra thing that I didn't think that would be added on top of that. That's why I keep going. That's why I keep doing it. And it's just, I thank God every day. It's a blessing.
Yeah. So I love the idea of disruption. And I wanted to kind of probe a little bit more because I was going to ask you about just the whole notion of, sort of like musical genres. Um, I, I'm curious, do you think that those are helpful or useful designations? Because obviously you and your partner overlap and blend lots of otherwise discrete genres. Or is music just music, regardless of genre? Like these are sort of artificial little silos that we've put music in. And you're just sort of doing what feels right, what feels natural, what feels creative. What do you think?
I think it's all music, but I also do think there is a certain level of, my thing is, it's just like, it doesn't need boxes. Nothing needs to be confined. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's art. It's music. You know what I'm saying? The idea of this thing being put in a box and being confined and being put in this idea that it has to be perfect, it goes against what art is,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. So, but it is all music. Whether you're an artist that wants to create jazz, and that's what you do, and I think that's amazing. Great, do that. You know what I mean? And I love jazz. If you're an artist, but to me, it has to be authentically who you are. There's different
Mm-hmm.
artists that, for us, for instance, we create music, and you'll hear our music. We'll go into this kind of soulful, track, and we'll go into this hip hop, really heavy, heavy thing. And it's just who we are. That's who we are. You know what I'm saying? It may not make sense to someone that's just listening to classical music every day, but that's just who we are. That's the kind of music we like to make. It makes sense to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if it makes sense to you as the artist, as the music maker, then that's all that matters. It's the community for anything and everybody. And it's all music. It should not be confined. It should not be put into a box. And at the same time, though, you as an artist have a responsibility. And the responsibility to me is that you're doing something that everybody is afraid to do, which is bring the kid out of you, be expressive and allow the audience to see that. When they see that, they say to themselves, "Oh man, I want to be a kid again." Genres are created just to, you know, for control, you know, whether it's the Grammys or whatever. But you know, it is what it is. And but at the end of the day, if the people like it, they may like it, they may not like it.
Yeah.
Who cares? If you like it and you did it, you know what I'm saying? Your job is done. You know what I'm saying? That's all I look at it.
Yeah. So tell me about some of your audiences. Do you have any good stories? Maybe somebody you saw in the audience and you thought, man, that person is going to really go crazy over this, or this person's maybe really not going to get it, or like, do you have any interesting audience stories?
Oh man. So we've definitely come across audiences that are just sitting there very reserved, and 99% of the time they're up on their seat at the end of the song, just they've completely broken away from this confined idea that they came into the theater with. You know what I'm saying? I love to see it, and I see it. I see it all the time. I see it. They come in there and it's just like, okay, you know, they're very reserved. At the end of it, they're throwing their hands up, and it's violins that's doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful thing. I love it. And I've come across fans that approach me doing festival where say, listen, your music got me to a tough time when I was in prison, or, you know, my kids love you, or, you know, it's just, we've heard so many different amazing, there's so many amazing stories, and we're inspiring people at the same time. We're uplifting people. And I think that is the greatest joy. That's the greatest to me as an artist.
Well, and that's a great jumping off point for me to ask you about your philanthropic efforts, because in addition to being, you know, badass instrumentalists, you are philanthropists. You've got your Black Violin Foundation. You help more than 100,000 students annually with free performances and work with youth symphonies and community centers and low-income schools. So would you talk a little bit about that? How you came to do that, and what you accomplish and what you hope to accomplish with that?
Yeah, so the foundation is really an extension of what we already do, and it's something that we talked about for years. But one year we were just kind of talking about it with our wives that were there, and they said, "Hey, why don't we do it?" You know. So our wives they took on that responsibility to kind of manage the foundation. And honestly, the foundation is there's a lot of pieces to it. Where actually there's scholarships being open soon. So whether you're trying to get a scholarship to a music camp or whatever it is, you know, we're giving out scholarships in that regard. But the main point of our foundation is to help kids that have dreams. In our career, we had so many individuals that are very, very important to us that did that for us. For instance, our teacher, you know, I needed an instrument. I'm going to audition for colleges and all that. I need better instruments. And he actually bought that. He paid for an instrument, you know? So that was huge. You know what I mean? That's really vague. So that's what we mean by that. Like, you know, there's so many kids that have this passion, that have this dream to becoming, you know, just playing an instrument. They just don't have X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So our foundation is to fill the gaps. That's pretty much what we need to do. To fill the gaps. You know what I'm saying? But not only with the things that child need, but also mentorship. You know what I mean? We keep in touch, we keep in contact with the kids, and let them understand like you can always reach out to us with any questions that you may have, and we tell them, listen, we want you guys to do the same thing as you're getting older, as you're getting, getting all these accolades. Is reach out to the younger generation as well. That's what it's all about. It's about give and take. And it's been great so far. It's probably one of the biggest, bigger things that we've actually established in the last 5 years is this foundation, because we get to see it happen. We get to see the kids hold these instruments. We made we're able to provide kids, with really, really nice instruments that they can use. And again, check out blackviolin.org for all the information that you need for that. So it's just amazing, man. It's incredible to again do something that you love and being able to inspire kids in a way that they want to do something. You know what I mean? Like I have kids of my own, and my son is a drummer. He's a drummer. He loves the drum, and I see the passion in his face. I see the passion in his eyes as he's playing his drum. And I couldn't imagine a kid like that, not having access to a drum, right? Not having access to play the drum. I mean, that's just the most, that kills me just thinking about that. So I think that's the main purpose of the foundation, is to fill these gaps and to be able to provide kids with the access. We have different programs that we're doing too. So again, check out blackviolin.org, blackviolinfoundation.org. So yeah, that's pretty much the premise of our foundation.
That's great. You're paying it forward. And I'm thinking about, when you're telling that story, I'm thinking about you, young student, banging on the table, and the security guard tells you to go get a saxophone.
Exactly. He is me. For sure.
Well, I've been speaking on Zoom with Wil B, half of the classical hip-hop duo Black Violin. What a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been definitely a pleasure. Thank you.